Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Got our last Cardfight Vanguard Divinez Season 3 episode review here. This is episode 13, Mythics of Miracles. And excuse my appearance, guys. It is 2 in the morning. I just finished the episode. And I wanted to cover the episode while everything in my mind is fresh. And you know what? This was a good way to end the season because it has left me extremely hyped for next season. So if you guys enjoyed these episode reviews, drop a like on the video, subscribe if you're new to the channel. Let's jump in and let's talk about what happened in this episode. So this is our season finale. And man. Alright, so the episode opens up with a flashback of Akina and Now at their regular job. And Akina cuts himself on a glass that he broke. He gets taped up, and while he's getting taped up, you know, he's apologizing to Now. He doesn't want to get in trouble because he made a mistake. And Now's just like, you're not getting in trouble for being new and making a mistake. And then she goes into a big, you know, a couple speeches that she listens to because you know she loves that stuff about learning from your mistakes. If you don't learn from your mistakes, you're just gonna make the same mistake again. But if you learn from your mistakes, you can keep on moving forward. And I guess that stuck with Akina forever because that's always how he's kind of operated. We transition back to the fight, and it's about to go into Kagatu's turn, and Akina is just like, it's all right, I'll make it through. And Now points out how much confidence Akina has, and you know he's come a long way. And let's talk about the way last week ended, so that way we can get ready as we jump into the last few turns. So right before we jump back into the fight, we get a shot from above of the current state of the field. We know that the damage is 3-4. Kagatu's in the lead, and we know just about every card in Akina's hand. He's got 2 perfect cards. He's got the Blitz Order Heavenly Bright. He's got Raise Albedo and a Critical Trigger. He has 2 mystery cards that we don't know that he drew off of skills at the end of last episode, but it's not going to matter. Spoiler alert, he discards both of those cards for the cost for his PGs. Now, going into the rest of the turns, just want to make the announcement. I know I make it on every single video, but their draw for turn, their energy charge, they don't necessarily mention them at the beginning of every turn, just assume that they happened. Same with some of the other effects. I'm pretty sure I caught everything, but just in case, if I miss something, my bad. I promise you, it most likely happened. But so we're going into turn 7. If you guys want to see what got us here and want to hear me talk about it, go check last week's video where we talked about episode 12. But jumping in here, we're jumping into turn 7. So the turn starts off, it's Kagatu's turn. Kagatu Persona rides, a keeper of the Moongate Weisruger. I know I've gone through all their effects in other episodes, but I'm still going to do it in case you stumbled upon this video. Because Kagatu activates the skill of the Moongate, which is Act Order Zone Energy Blast 3. Rest this card. You look at the top 7 cards of your deck, you choose up to 1 unit with Mythics in its card name, and grade less than equal to your Vanguard from among them and call it to rearguard and shuffle the deck. But if you have a grade 3 greater Vanguard with Weisruger in its card name, instead of choosing 1 card and calling it to rearguard, you choose 3 of the cards from among those top 7, call 1 of them, and put the other 2 into the order zone, and then you shuffle the deck. With this skill, Kagatu calls Crowing Mythics Ravnarau, and then Kagatu uses Weisruger's skill, which is Act Vanguard once per turn, Soul Blast 2, choose a Moongate from your order zone, choose one of its original act abilities, and activate it without paying the cost. And so you basically do the same thing again, and this time Kagatu calls the first Mythics Wolfzahn Rostinir. Kagatu points out that he only has 1 counterblast, so his attack should be less intense, but he tells Akina that he shouldn't have thought that because, you know, as you get better as a fighter, you always want to have extra tricks in your bag. So Kagatu plays his new order, Omer Sem Veridiriro. I probably butchered that name, but that name is mad weird. But let me tell you what this does real quick. You play this if you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Weisruger in its card name. You choose one of your opponent's rear guards and retire it. Auto Vanguard once per turn when your rear guard with Mythics in its card name is placed on rear guard by this unit's ability until end of turn. The cost of that unit's original auto ability is reduced by 1 counterblast until end of turn. I like this card because it works with both Rostinir and Garzorum's, which he ends up using with Garzorum, but we'll talk about that in a second. But Kagatu retires Akina's Knight of Perspicacity Catellis, and it gives the skill to Weisruger. He retired that one because Akina can intercept with it from the back row, so he's cutting down on his defensive options right away. Now, going into battle phase, Kagatu attacks with Rostinir and uses Rostinir's skill. Auto when the unit is placed on rearguard if you have a grade 3 greater Vanguard with Weisruger in its card name. Until the end of turn, when this unit would attack, choose one of your opponent's front row rearguard circles, and it battles your opponent's vanguard and all of the units on chosen rearguard circle. So he's also cutting out more of his intercepts by attacking Akina's vanguard and one of his Nobias. Akina doesn't guard either of the attacks. Akina takes 1 damage, Nobia is retired, so now Akina is going to 5. Kagatu attacks with Vaisruger and uses Vaisruger's skill. Auto Vanguard, when this unit attacks, counter blast 1, choose up to 2 unit cards with mythics in their card name from your order zone, call them each to rearguard in the same column, and all of your front row units get plus 5,000 power till end of turn. With this skill, Kagatu calls another copy of Rossinier, and he calls the second mythics Midgard Sommer Garzorms to the back row. And thanks to his order, he now reduces Garzorm's skill, counterblast skill by 1 and uses its skill. Auto when the unit is placed on rearguard during your battle phase. If you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard Vaisruger in its card name, counterblast 1 until the end of your opponent's next turn. This unit cannot be chosen by your opponent's card effects and can attack from the back row. But like I said, it was free. The Vanguard, Akina guards with a perfect guard. Kagatu gets a critical on his twin drive, giving the 10k power to Garzorms, making it now a 35, and the critical to Rostinir. Kagatu then attacks with the Rossinier again, using this one's skill as well, attacking the Vanguard as well as attacking the other Nobia, getting rid of Akina's last intercept. Akina plays the Blitz order Heavenly Bright. What this does is, you play with an Energy Blast 2, you look at the top card of your deck, you either call it to the Guardian Circle or put it back on top of the deck. If you called it to the Guardian Circle, it gets plus 10,000 shield until the end of that battle. Akina calls a copy of Nobia off the top of his deck, gives it 10,000 power, and then guards with the critical from his hand. Kagatu then attacks with Garzorm. Now Akina thinks, he says, I've done everything I can, so now he leaves it up to fate. Akina doesn't guard, he takes 1 damage. But Akina gets a critical on his damage check. Now, if you guys saw last week's episode, he had used Raziel's skill, his divine skill. For anybody that doesn't remember what the divine skill is, I'll cover it real quick. Act Vanguard Circle, you Soul Blast 1, you return all critical triggers from your drop zone back to the deck and you shuffle, and then your Vanguard gets plus 1 drive till the end of turn. That part doesn't matter now because he did that last episode. Until the end of this fight, you cannot ride units without Raziel in its card name, and you, the player, get, when your damage check reveals a trigger unit other than a heal trigger, if your damage zone has 5 or more cards, choose a card from your damage zone and heal it, and then you lose this ability. So because his 6 damage was a critical trigger, he got to heal a damage, so he gets to stay in the fight, and he gives his Vanguard plus 10,000 power. Kagatu then attacks with his other Garzorms. This one Akina guards with his second perfect guard, leaving him with just 1 card in hand, and the turn is over. The damage is now 3-5 with Kagatu firmly in the lead. We get some out of fight talk between Akina and Kagatu, where Akina tells him, he's like, I want to tell you my reason for fighting. And he talks about his experience through the Deluxe and how he really thought about it. And we get a really, really cool montage of everybody fighting throughout the Deluxe and all of the fights that he saw. And it turns out that his biggest motivation is he wants to compete with Now. Now has been a big part of his life. We also see her in the montage, and she has become his reason for playing Vanguard. He wants to be able to get to her level and play her for real. And I like this because this is what happened with Kagatu, where Kagatu found that one opponent that he really wanted to strive to play against, and then she disappeared. So this actually hits Kagatu right in the chest because it's basically the same motivation that he had. And then Akina says that Vanguard to him represents a brand new dream. And we see that our boy gets some serious budget in this shot right here as the animation takes a step up. It's funny because we get a shot of Erika and Hikari, and they're just happy to see that Akina finally has his own wish of getting to Now's level. Kagatu says he likes Akina's answer and that he wants Akina to hit him with his best shot. So now we go into turn 8. Now this this turn fucked me up, I'm not gonna lie, because I thought the game was gonna end here. I thought it was gonna be an 8-turn game, you know, the standard. It's not. This is, spoiler, a 10-turn game, which is long as shit, which is good for a season finale. But turn 8, Akina Persona rides Fated King of Miracles, Raziel Vita. And they make it super epic when Akina draws off the Persona ride. Mind you, Akina has 1 card in hand. He's ended with 1 card in hand as Raziel Vita. He drew 1 card. He Persona rode. So he goes to draw for the Persona ride, and it's glowing. And we get to see Akina talking to Rifistor. And then he draws, and it's Rifistor, obviously. Akina calls Mythics of Miracle Rifistor, and we get to see something I did not expect. It's Raziel calling Rifistor out of the moon gate. And the animation for this was fire. And it comes and it lands and it's like, he says, "Come fly with the wings of salvation." And I was like, that's just hard. That was so unnecessarily cool. But we get to see Akina use Rifistor's skill. Auto, when this unit is placed on rearguard, counterblast 1, look at the top 7 cards of your deck, choose up to one a grade 3 or card with Raziel and its card name from among them, reveal it. And put it into your hand and shuffle your deck. If you do not reveal a card, countercharge 1. Akina adds a copy of Faded One of Miracles Raziel from the top 7. And then he calls his other card in hand, which was a Knight of Bowstreaks Nobilis. Akina starts off by attacking Rifistor, uses its skill. Now, I'm going to mention the whole skill here, but he only uses the first half of it. The second half comes into play later in the turn. Auto rearguard, when this unit attacks, if you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Raziel and its card name, this unit gets 5,000 power till end of battle. That's the part he used right here. The second half comes into play later, which is then if this unit was placed on rearguard by the ability of your grade 3 or greater Vanguard Raziel and its card name, this turn and your damage zone has 4 or more cards, this unit gets 10,000 power instead of 5,000 power. If it gains 10,000 power and is the 5th battle of that turn, your opponent cannot call Sentinels from hand to the Guardian Circle till the end of that battle. So like I said, he only used the first part, giving himself 5k. So Rifistor gains 5k and Kagatu guards. Akina then attacks with Nobilis, Kagatu guards again, and after this, Akina used Nobilis' skill. Auto rearguard, at the end of the battle, this unit attacked if you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard Raziel and its card name, Energy Blast 3, and put this card into Soul. You draw a card, and then you look at the top card of your deck and put it to the top or bottom of the deck. Akina draws a card, he peeks at the top card of his deck, and he puts it to the bottom of his deck. Akina then attacks with Raziel Vita and uses its skill. Auto, when this unit attacks a Vanguard, counterblast 1. Choose up to 2 cards from your drop with different grades and a total grade less than or equal to the number of cards in your damage zone and call them to rearguard. Then put a grade 3 or greater card with Raziel and its card name from your hand into Soul. Choose a grade 3 or less card from your drop, call it to rearguard. If your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, all of those units called by this effect gain 5,000 power until end of turn. Sorry, that was long-winded. But this scene actually confirmed a ruling I was curious about. So Akina calls Nobilis and Bradyok to the column that had Rifistor. So that part resolves. The rear guards that were on those circles retire. Then he puts the Raziel that he just added to his hand into the Soul to call another card, and he calls Rifistor back from the drop. I wasn't sure if you could do that. I wasn't sure if you had to do all 3 calls before anything retired. But in most cases, in like just about every case, the anime is 1-to-1 to the card game. So this should be a legal move. And now we kind of have confirmation that it is. Regardless, he calls Rifistor to the other side, and then he uses Bradyark's skill, which is auto when this unit is placed on rearguard. If your Vanguard's grade is less than or equal to your opponent's Vanguard's grade, look at the top card of your deck and put it to the top or bottom of the deck, and this unit gains 2,000 power. Akina looks at the top card of his deck, puts it on the bottom of his deck as well. Now we get a little mention from Kagatu here. Kagatu points out that Akina's changed his deck a lot, that he added a lot more cards that allow him to manipulate the top card of his deck. And basically, it's Akina doing everything he can to force out the future that he wants. This is something that he kind of learned from Raika, where Raika was talking about, making the extra preparation, putting in the work to do what you need to do to win. But back to the fight, Kagatu guards the Vanguard with a perfect guard. Akina gets an over trigger on his twin drive. Now, if you guys have watched any of my other content on Cardfight Vanguard, you guys know I hate over triggers. Hate them. I always feel like they ruin the game. And I honestly thought the game was going to be over right here. Granted, I thought it was weird that he was playing the Keter Sanctuary over trigger because it's not great. But it makes sense, they're playing whatever the over triggers in their deck. So Akina gives the 100 million to Rifistor, and now his rear guards perform drive checks. He didn't get a critical on his drive checks, but I assumed he was going to get one off of one of the drive checks on his rear guards. But Akina, after this, attacks with Nobilis. Kagatu guards with another perfect guard. Akina gets a critical trigger on his drive check and gives the power and critical to Rifistor. And then at the end of the battle, he uses this Nobilis' skill as well. Energy Blast 3, puts it to Soul, draws a card, peeks the top card of his deck, puts it on the bottom of his deck. Akina attacks with Rifistor, and activates the second half of Restore skill, giving it the 10k and no sentinels. Now, I thought the game was going to be over here because Kagatu's at 3 damage. Kagatu tanks the attack, and it's up to Akina drawing a critical. I seriously thought this was going to be the end. And then Akina drew a heal trigger on this drive check, and I screamed because I was completely caught by surprise here. He gives the power to Restore, even though at this point it doesn't matter, and he recovers 1 damage. Kagatu takes 2 damage. The turn is over. The damage is now 5-4 with Akina in the lead. And again, I was surprised. They caught me lacking. I thought they were going to end it right there. I was thinking about it too. Depending on how they did it, like, I know that Kagatu gave Restore to Akina, so him knowing about the guard restrict makes sense, but they could have easily played it off like he didn't know about the guard restrict. They could have had him get a crit on his Razor Hail swing, give it to Restore, swing at the rear guard, he takes it, and then he goes to perfect guard the Restore, and he can't. They've done stupid stuff like that before, so I kind of, like, while I didn't like the way they went with the over trigger, it made sense that Kagatu knew what he was doing. But we get some more out of game talk, and everybody's just like surprised that they're like, oh man, that wasn't enough to win. That's crazy. Even with an over trigger, he still couldn't win. And everybody's talking about how strong Kagatu is. And Kagatu and Akina are talking, and Akina's like, you know, you're strong. And it goes back to the line that now gave Akina way back when. He's like, you know, a miracle will descend for those that reach out their hand. I know I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but Akina keeps saying that he's like, if you can't reach it now, you have to keep on reaching higher and higher and farther ahead. And this again resonates with Kagatu because he admits this is what he should have done, and he gave up when Ruka disappeared. He just was just like, nah, I'm done. He should have kept striving to eventually meet Ruka on that level. But Kagatu says, yeah, that's what I should have did. And he finally, like, really locks in. Like, you see it on his face. He gets ridiculously serious. He's ready to give Akina everything he's got. But now we go into turn 9. Kagatu persona writes another copy of Aizruger. Kagatu used the Moongate, calls another copy of Ravnarao. Kagatu swaps around his rear guards and proceeds to his battle phase. Kagatu attacks with Garzorms. Akina guards. Kagatu attacks with Vaisruger and uses its skill. He calls out Rosanir and Ravnarao. He's not going, he can't get 5 attacks right now. So he swung with the big column. He swung with 1 column. Garzorms doesn't gain any power because he didn't play in order this turn. But then he replaces that column with Rosanir and Ravnarao, and it gives his front row plus 5k. Akina guards and intercepts so that way he can't, attack the intercept. He blocks with everything. Kagatu gets a front trigger on his twin drive, gives 10k to his front row. Kagatu attacks with another Garzorms. This one Akina doesn't guard. Akina takes 1 damage. And then Kagatu attacks with Rostanir. And this one Akina guards with a perfect guard. And this shit was fire because they had our boy Raziel straight aura farming on Kagatu. It was hype. They definitely knew where to put the budget. The damage is now 5-5, and we proceed to turn 10, the final turn. Akina has no cards in hand. He draws for turn and calls Bradyark off the top and uses its skill, looks at the top card of his deck, puts it on the bottom, gains 2k. He moves Ventesta to the front row and proceeds straight to his battle phase. Akina attacks with Ventesta, attacking Rostanir, taking out an intercept. Kagatu doesn't guard, Rostanir retires. Akina then attacks the Garzorms with Bradyark. This actually kind of surprised me, but I get it. Kagatu again doesn't guard, Garzorms is gone. Akina attacks with Raise Albedo and uses its skill, and he calls Knight of Severe Spirit Salvelis, I hope I said that right, and Rifestor back from the drop. Kagatu guards the Vanguard with a perfect guard. Akina gets a twin drive on his drive checks and gives the power to Rifestor, and honestly it came down to this drive check because Akina attacks with Savelis and Kagatu guards with his front trigger. The last 2 cards in his hand, they show us his hand, is another copy of Aizruger and a perfect guard. Akina attacks with Rifestor and uses its skill and makes it so Kagatu cannot guard with perfect guards. We get one last amazing shot of some great anime of Rifestor powering up and ending the game. Kagatu doesn't guard the attack, takes 1 damage, and that is the end of the game. If Akina hadn't got that trigger, then Kagatu could have PG'd the Saveless while guarding the Rifistor with the front trigger. And with so few cards in hand, he probably would have won the next turn. So it came down to that 1 draw trigger. But now, game's over. Akina wins. All of his friends are celebrating. They give him the great news that Homeboy has qualified for the finals. And then we see that the other people in his block did not. Raika did not qualify because obviously in his block it was Akina and Kagatu. And then we see Akina damn near collapse in the waiting room, and Suo and Kuon show up. Akina's tired. Kuon's just like, obviously I didn't qualify, but I don't regret anything. He had a great time. Suo does qualify, and he's ready to go into the finals. And we see Suzune pop out on the side, looking all cute, and she's like, "I'm gonna be cheering for you because you know we're friends now." And we actually get to see both of them smiling, and that just warmed my heart that these two people who shut down their own emotions so much are finally able to really express themselves and enjoy it. And then lastly, we have to decide who's going to be the last participant, and we have to have the lottery. So this is Group A. This is their last chance qualifier. Whoever wins the lottery gets to advance. And in order to do that, there are 3 cards face down. They've all picked which one they're going to reveal, and whoever reveals a copy of Seraph Snow, which is funny because you know that's Tomari's card, they're going to advance. So it's now Jinkies flipping for Gui and Erika. They all flipped their cards, and they revealed that Erika has flipped a copy of Seraph Snow, so Erika is going to be lucky and advance. And this part was kind of sad, and we see, you know, Akina's happy for Erika, but then he notices now walk away, and we see now in the hallway just looking really serious. Akina shows up trying to cheer her up, and she's like, you know, I can't lose face in front of my student. And he's like, you know, just because I'm not advancing now doesn't mean I'm going to give up. I'm going to keep on moving. I'm going to go look for the next challenge. And we get a really, really nice thing from Akina. Akina wants to be a professional card fighter, which somebody pointed out in the comments has never happened in Cardfight Vanguard. We've never seen a protagonist that wants to become a professional. So that's really, really cool. And he basically says he wants to get on Nao's level. And she even points out, she's like, you do that and we're going to be rivals. We'll no longer be master and student. And he's like, Akina's, that's exactly what he wants. So he's going to give it his all to win the Deluxe so he can become a pro. So now it's just like, you better get going. You got to be on stage. And when we see him leave, Nao lets it out. She leans up against the wall, and she's just like, I wish I could have set a good example for him. And you just see a tear roll down. And that's the first time we've seen Nao really lose to, you know, how sad she gets. And it hurt me to see. But we get a shot, you know, of them announcing, actually showing us everybody that's advanced. So from Group A, we've got Mirai and Erika, which I'm happy about. That means we're going to get more Buff Saga stuff next season. We've got Group B, which is Suo and Megumi, and Group C, which is Kagetsu and Akina. And then they make the big announcement of the Group D participants coming in, all the way from America. And, yo, the way they announced Michiru, they're like, you know, he's the invincible fighter. And they call this man the GOAT. And I just lost it, because here comes Michiru. Can't even see his eyes. And they call him the GOAT. And then we get to see the last participant. And I swear I fucking called this. It just didn't make sense. They had a secret fighter they weren't going to show us, and they had that whole backstory with our boy Kagetsu, and I had called it that it was going to be Ruka, and in she comes, and you know what? They aged her up, and her design looks fantastic. And the look on Kagetsu's face when he saw Ruka, my God, you would think the love of the man's life just walked in, which, yeah, she pretty much was. And this got me so hyped for next season. We get the final shot of our final 8 for the finals. How they're going to arrange it, I don't know. How many fights we're going to get, I don't know. All I know is I'm hyped for next season, because not only did Kagetsu get over his BS, where he's just like, you know, I should have just never given up. His reason for wanting to fight just walked in. Kagatu was already a beast even when he wasn't giving it his all. Could you imagine when he finally puts everything on the table? He's got to be a monster. Akina's found his motivation. Suo has life in his eyes. Like, Michiru. We already know Akina's going to go against Michiru. It's going to happen. Like, we've got a great roster to go into next season, and I cannot wait for it to come out. Guys, thank you to everybody who's come to all of these reviews. I know it's obviously going to slow down because the season's over, but I will keep on bringing you guys Cardfight Vanguard content. I will keep on talking to you guys about new releases, potential stuff for next season. If you guys want me to cover another anime, and we'd be down to still check out my reviews, there's plenty of other shows I could show you. I actually have pretty good taste. But I appreciate all your guys' support, and of course we're going to cover next season. Like, this season, this was one of my favorite seasons of the Cardfight Vanguard anime point blank period. Not just Divinez, not just Overdress, like all the way from the OG. This season was great. But guys, if you want to check me out on social media, those links will be down below. If you guys want to see me play some Cardfight Vanguard, or if you guys want to come play with me, come by the Cardfight Vanguard stream. This week coming will be Wednesday, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, maybe a little earlier, but I'll make an announcement if I do. But of course, I would love to have you guys. We could talk about the anime, we could talk about cards that have been announced, and of course we can play. That's going to be it from me. I'll catch you guys on the next video. Later.
See it in my eyes, I was born for this. I got demons on my side, you ain't high like this. I got reason to believe, I don't need it from my gifts. Only I can change the world and it go like this.